Awesome. Well, I think we're all ready now. Hey, I'm getting to introduce Reverend Joanne, Faith Love Boruck. Anybody who knows her knows she is Faith Love. And peace. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. It's here somewhere.
It's here somewhere. Oh, okay. I'm supposed to stand up here and talk a little longer. All right. All right, Joanne, come on up and share with us your talk, Practicing the Presence of Spirit.
Not Siri. Oh, yeah, sometimes it's a funny thing that they tell you to. Sometimes they say to me, I'm doing the best I can, and I think, oh, what a great reminder. Good morning, beautiful. Thank you. I'm your mirror, so I totally accept that compliment. Please join me today by making a gift to yourself, of yourself. Just come home right now into your heart and be there now. I invite you, if you choose, to place your hands over your heart. We learned last week this is the I am posture, the love posture. As I speak these words of affirmation for body, mind, and spirit, there is one life. That life is my life. That life is your life. That life is our life. That life is God. Spirit, Creator, life. I am that I am. As I live and move and have my being in the presence of Spirit, I am always practicing the presence. At any moment, I can stop where I am and be still and ask myself, is Spirit present in this choice, in this experience, in this decision? And that brings me to my truth. With great thanksgiving for this Center for Spiritual Living, Red Deer, for all centers for spiritual living that are constantly and continually changing the lives and opening doors of infinite possibility. I am grateful for my family, for my friends, for the congregation today, those here and those here in spirit. I say thank you. And I let this go into the all-knowing law, the mind of the one, where it is returned to me, overflowing and complete. I let it go. And together we say, and so it is. Now, in this moment of stillness, let us remain in our hearts and send loving thoughts to all those who need our prayers, who need to know our love, and to know that the presence of Spirit is in all of us today and every day. Today I hold my sister Susan in my heart. Thank you. Today our message is practicing the presence of Spirit. And as I was writing my talk today, something came across my computer that talked about practicing the presence of Spirit. And it was from a minister, and he said to me, there was a few of us on this email stream, he says, do you know what? How can you practice the presence of Spirit if you don't practice the presence of Spirit? I mean, you get on your holy tower on a Sunday, but what about all those other days? Are you practicing the presence of Spirit all those other days? So I want you to know that's why I'm wearing this. I don't wear it very often, but 9 years ago, I got my first ordination. Then I had to practicum for a few years, and I got my second one. But my first ordination, Carmen came up and gave me my ministry. And so I wear it today as a reminder that Spirit is everywhere present. So our topic this whole month is speaking truth to circumstances. And I talked about it last week, how daunting that was to me. But it reminds me, and all of us, that circumstances are not the truth. They're not our truth. They never have been. They're something outside of us. And then we talked about power. How much power is there in truth? And what are those things? And so when I was researching, I found that Buddhists have 5 steps of power. The first one is faith, and we talked about that last week. Faith is declaring that circumstances don't have any power over us, and they're not what they seem, because our faith is greater than that. So we've accepted that circumstances do not define us, and that frees us to move forward into the next one, which is energy, action. That is the second source of power from your power bar. There's only one source, but we can access it lots of different ways. For me, it's faith. For some people, it might be action. I plug into the power bar of the one creative power, God. And that's where I get my action from. So taking action, that's a big one, because it's 24 hours a day. It's opening your eyes to Spirit and realizing how often we go through life with our eyes closed, just taking life at face value. And for me, this week, it was really good because I'm seeing my sister as whole and healthy. And I don't want to take at face value what those doctors say, because I see her as whole, perfect, and complete. And if you know me, you know I'm a busy, busy person. I'm an action person. That's what I thought. But no, in the midst of all that busyness, my sister got sick. And all the things that I was doing, keeping busy, all of a sudden didn't mean a darn thing to me. They weren't important. Action, to me, also means being still and listening. So action comes in so many different forms. At these times, this crazy time right now, you're probably looking for lots of answers and lots of purpose. What is my purpose? What is going on in the world? And this is the time to stop and say, I am in the presence of Spirit, which coincidentally is step 1 of our spiritual mind treatment. There's 5 steps. God is, I am, I know, thank you, and release. There is one Spirit, one Creator, one universal love, one God, that's all. And I am one with it. There's only one, and I'm one with it. So just stop for a minute and close your eyes. Just really embrace that. There is only one. And I am one with it. Whew. Everything else still happening around us, happening to us, but it's not happening in us. What's happening in us is our connection to Spirit. I meant to bring my drum because I have this little chant that Anita Adrian gave to me. She said, I learned this chant and I think it's for you, Joanne. Move this out so it's not so loud. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in the land. We are one in the universe. Come take my hand. And you'll know we are family by our light, by our light, yes, you'll know we are family by our light. So when we get stuck, it's because of the things we are not because of things that we are. Don Miguel Ruiz talks a lot about that, and he's in the book. His son's in the Science of Mind monthly reading. Don Miguel calls it domestication. He says from the time you're born, you're domesticated. First, you're toilet trained, then you're smart enough to go to school, then you're smart enough to go to grade 2, 3, 4, on and on. And he calls that domestication. In the Science of Mind, we call it the collective unconscious. And when we talk about unplug your TV, or like John Prine says, blow up your TV, move to the country, plant a lot of peaches, and try to find Jesus on your own. If you haven't heard him, he's got some great, great words. So we call it the collective unconscious. And Ernest Holmes says we're all living this collective dream, but we get so caught up in it, we don't even know it's a dream. All around us right now, we're being told it's time to wake up from your dream and say yes. Even if you'd rather stay in the dream because it's familiar and it feels good. Well, I found a lot of great quotes about waking up. John Lennon says, life is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. Whew. That is our call to action. If you take nothing home today, is we're being called to wake up. Maybe our whole entire journey is about waking up, and the dream's about separation from ourselves and from others, from God, from Spirit. And you know, that separation begins to take the form of duality. Good, evil, right, wrong, light, dark. Well, you know, our philosophy, this Science of Mind, is there is no duality. There's only love and the absence of it. There's only abundance and the absence of it. So if you're experiencing something that's not love, peace, abundance, are you focusing on the presence of Spirit or the absence of Spirit? Ernest Holmes says it isn't a matter of good and evil. It's a matter of being asleep or awake. I was really hearing that. Another affirmation is that it's time to wake up. He goes on to say, one moment of awakening can reverse a lifetime of sleepwalking. Sleepwalking. I was looking for a really good story about somebody who put truth to circumstance. And I was reading a book not too long ago, and it was Loretta Lynn's memoirs. She really inspired me. She had such a journey from poverty to the queen of country music. Do you know that she got married when she was 13 years old in that back country? And became a mother soon after that. And after they were married for 10 years, her husband bought her a guitar. It was their anniversary present. And she taught herself to play. With all those kids running around, she taught herself to play. And before long, in her 20s, she started writing songs and singing in front of small audiences. Well, we know now through the years of hard work, talent, and grit and action that she made it to Nashville and secured her place in history as a top country music performer in a male-dominated industry. She was the first woman to receive a gold record in country music and the first woman to be the CMA Country Music Entertainer of the Year. So whether you love country music or not, that is so inspiring. So if something in your life is wrong and not working, what we do at Science of Mind, our philosophy, is we state the opposite. We declare the opposite because, of course, there's only abundance in the absence of it. So to wake up is to actually experience reality. And that's our journey. We all want to change the world, but before we can change the world, we have to change ourselves. We need to understand what the world out there really is. It's so much more comfortable to stay home practicing the presence on the couch. But this is about turning our life experience into awareness. Every victory, every trial, every disagreement in your life, turn it around and bring it into the light, into the presence of Spirit. If we're going to speak truth to circumstance by practicing the presence, first we have to acknowledge there's a circumstance. So we have to stop. Recognize what's really going on. Whether it's an argument with somebody, whether it's your own inner insecurity, just stop and say, well, what is the circumstance here? The circumstance is we forgot we're connected to something greater. And it takes action to move past that. But you know what? I know Lena talked about action, get things done. Sometimes action is just stop. Be still and know. Just let those absorb into your being as you embrace them. Be still and know I am. And that phrase comes with I am God. But that's not necessary. Whatever works for you. Be still and know I am. It just automatically brings you into the presence. And I have to say, it doesn't always take action, but it does take practice. That's why it's called practicing the presence. So action is the part where you move your consciousness from physical to intellectual to spiritual. That's the action. It's not really about moving forward all the time. Treat and move your feet happens here, here, and here. It's knowing what's needed, walking your talk. Ernest Holmes says, to practice the presence of God is to awaken within us the Christ consciousness. That's a whole nother talk, because some of you know, all of you probably know that come here, that Jesus wasn't, his last name wasn't Christ. Christ was his essence, his divine beingness, his consciousness. And that's what we want. We want that consciousness. If you've ever read much of the Bible, boy, he walked through life, he healed the sick, he loved all the children. All he did was give the very best of himself to everybody he came across. That was his consciousness. That was his beingness. That's what we want when we practice the Christ consciousness. Albert Einstein even says, a person experiences life as something separate from the rest. He says it's kind of an optical delusion of consciousness. And our talk must be to free ourselves from that self-imposed, I've never heard that, an optical delusion of consciousness. I think our affirmation today should be, through compassion, I practice the presence of Spirit and the reality of oneness. And I want us to say that today. Through compassion, I practice the presence of Spirit and the reality of oneness. So that's only two things to bring truth to circumstance. First one is faith, and the next one is energy, action that supports us. And we're going to talk to a couple more through the week. The next one is meditation, and then it's concentration or awareness. And the Buddhists talk about this source of power, and they don't talk about the one power that we know about, the power source. So we're going to talk about that. We moved last week from faith to fear by using these different postures, these mudras. We released, we accepted, we were grateful for who we are. We used our body as a catalyst, as a posture to move from fear to faith. And when we get to see how important that is in our life, faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in humanity. Faith in your family and your friends. That helps us wake up. And we stop relating to the world as a us versus them scenario. Because it's not. It's an us versus us. So when we all have love, we can take a different approach to healing. But first we have to heal within. It's all within us. We just have to practice the presence by listening, being curious. I got this cough coming. And us spiritual beings, we know if you're coughing, it's because you're saying something that's you need to practice. Practice listening with curiosity. Ernest Holmes says, every man in his native state is some part of a manifestation of the principle. And the entire problem of limitation, evil, and suffering is the result of thinking we are separate. Ram Dass even says, our ego, I don't always think ego is a bad thing, but sometimes ego can make what's unimportant important. Love you. And making what's important unimportant. That's your ego. And it's not always like that, but it's important to know, is this the practicing the presence? Is this the presence of spirit talking, or is this my ego? So I have 5 tips for practicing the presence. As soon as I have a drink. Cool. I hear you, Joanne. First thing you can do every day is begin your day with intention. Let your morning routine set your intention for the day. I like to say, Spirit, this is your day. Use me to bring joy and love to the world. God, this is your day. Use me. The next one is we all have worries. Let's turn those worries into gratitude. Rather than focusing on what not working, focus on things you want to be grateful for. Oh, Braylon knows that. And surrender to a higher power. There'll always be something that's taking your attention away from the truth. Surrender, knowing there's a power greater than you are, and you can use it. Turn the mundane things you do into a celebration. Routines can be mundane. Making supper or even phoning somebody in your family. Make it a celebration. Invite joy. I'm going to do this with joy. And the last one is so important. Lead by example. When you're alone or with a group of friends, be the example of practicing the presence. Don't hold back. I want people to say to every one of us, when I'm with you, I feel the presence of Spirit. Practicing the presence is a habit. And if you do it, I know your journey will never be the same. Speaking of action, I want to tell you about this book. Last week, Deb De La Rosa came. Haven't seen her for about 20 years or more, but she started me on my spiritual path in Red Deer when I was just going through this terrible divorce and nothing made sense. So Deb wrote this book. In this book, her name is called Luna Lee, and it's called A Chrysalis, A Spiritual Journey. Deb, could you just stand up and just tell us a couple of things about it? I have some for sale, limited edition, $20, and she'll autograph it. So it's about your journey coming out of the chrysalis. Thank you, Deb. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's the other half of the butterfly. Thank you, Deb. So I just want to remind you, begin your day with intention, turn your worries into gratitude, surrender to a higher power, turn the mundane into a celebration, and lead by example. And I challenge you to make those your intentions this week. But there's a couple of questions that I want to ask you. When I talked about the, what was that he said, Ram Dass, about delusion? Oh, yeah, Einstein. Yeah, optical delusion. So, when was the last time you heard something that you thought was absolutely true? It was so true in a relationship or in life, only to find out nothing was true. I'm looking out, boy, I can see a lot of people who thought something was true. It was an optical delusion. And how can you lead by example? Whether it's just listening or taking action. How can you apply yourself to practicing the presence? And what can you do today to change the world to a world that works for everyone? For all. A world that works for all. And what is your definition of all? Just all of us spiritual people or all of us? And that's all I want you to think about. How can you change you? How can you change the world? It's time to wake up. It's time to practice the presence of God. And it's time to wake up from the dream that is not your truth. Thank you for being with me here today as I discover what I need to do to take action to practice the presence of Spirit in my life. I am Reverend Joanne Faith. Peace and love, Boruck. And I love you all so much. Namaste. And so it is. And